Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Blaney, and I'm the Member of Parliament for North Island-Powell River. And when I'm not doing all of the work that you have to do as a Member of Parliament, I spend a lot of my time reading. I'm at home today in my library. I started reading when I was very young, but I became passionate about reading when I was 8. I remember being at school and realizing that I could take out from the library over 10 books if I wanted to. And I remember coming home with about 14 books in my backpack for a weekend of joyous reading, and my dad just being horrified that I had that many books. But it just really opened up a passion for me. And I think for me, reading both fiction and nonfiction is a way to learn from other people's stories. Fiction of all types tells you about experiences that you may not be aware of otherwise. So that's why I love to read. My favorite book I actually read for the first time when I was 15, and it's by a Canadian author, L.M. Montgomery. And I had read a lot of her series, her Story Girl series, her Anne of Green Gables series, and I had just fallen in love with her. And I found this one book that actually a lot of people don't know about called The Blue Castle. And I read it, and since then I have probably read it 15 times. And I think the reason that I liked it is basically it's about a woman who's considered an old maid. It's an old term, but a woman who was had not been married. And in those days, it was a really big deal. She was living with her auntie and her mother, and her life was just incredibly small and very controlled by other people. And one day she goes to the doctor and finds out that she's in bad health and may not live very long. And she makes that decision then to live in a way that is really honest to herself. So it's a lot of fun to read the book because she just starts to speak out about who she is and how she wants to live in the world, and her family is very shocked and appalled, and she just begins to help people in a way that's really meaningful. And so for me, this book just meant a lot. But another book that I have read in the last year that really means a lot to me is by Lee Maracle. And if you've never read Lee Maracle, another Canadian author, an Indigenous author, I encourage you. She writes fiction and nonfiction. But this is a book called My Conversations with Canadians. And I just think she does an incredible job of talking about some of the most difficult conversations that we have to have as Canadians about the history with Indigenous communities and what that impact has really meant. And I love in her book how good she is at explaining to non-Indigenous Canadians that the work is ours, that the communities are figuring out their own path with colonization, but the practice of colonization, the practice of systemic racism in our system, that is our responsibility to be part of the solution. So stop looking to those communities to tell us what to do, but start taking ownership of the steps that we need to take. So those are a couple of my favorite books. As you can see, I have a lot more, and I always drink tea when I read, and you can probably see behind me, I have quite a few teacups that I like to drink out of, just because it makes it a little more fun. So I hope you just take an opportunity always to read. There's always amazing things to learn, and you can open up whole new doors when you read.